Hello everybody, I'm Louise Winchester, the spiritual business mentor and founder of Sacred Space, and this is Sheila V, who's one of our psychics here at Sacred Space, and she also has a business outside of Sacred Space called
Empowering Intuition.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. Today we're going to be talking about meditation and its health benefits. Also probably taking it a little bit out there. Hello Katie.
Hello Katie.
Thanks for watching us. And so if you're a meditator or someone who's interested in doing meditation, we're going to talk about the full spectrum of why one would be looking to do meditation. So stay on the call or watch the replay and watch it right to the end and just see what we've got to say with our different experiences over the years here. So, okay, I'm going to open up to you, Sheila. We're also going to talk a little bit about how to get, why you should do meditation for your soul purpose.
Absolutely. I want to open up by saying that we don't meditate to get better at meditation. We meditate to get better at life. And meditation has so many benefits that are physical and mental and emotional. But there are so many myths around meditation, and I want to start by talking about the challenges and the myths around meditation. I've had quite a few messages from people asking me how to do it, why it's so hard, why they can't get better. And I started meditating 13 years ago. How long have you been meditating for, Louise?
30.
Giving away Louise's age here, that's all right. But it's a slow process, honestly. I started my MBA 13 years ago, and at that time, my anxiety levels were unmanageable. And I had friends say to me, Sheila, you need to start meditating. And this was during a time when there weren't really meditation classes, there were no apps. So I had to go and find a group to sit with and meditate. I didn't know what the benefits were going to be, but there was just such a pull to do this thing called meditation. And the myth that I needed debunked for myself was I thought I was going to get it really quickly. I thought it was going to be easy. I thought I would master meditation like I'd done other things. I thought I'm going to do this over a weekend and then I'll be great. I'll be able to meditate for 30 minutes, for 60 minutes. I thought I'd be comfortable sitting in a lotus position, holding like the mudra. I thought that looks easy to do. And it just looks easy, much like, when you see someone train for a half marathon, when they cross the finishing line, it looks easy. There's been a lot of months, weeks, years of practice that's gone to condition the body. Meditation is conditioning the mind. And the other challenge with meditation, like physical fitness, you'll see changes in your body. If you're learning some new knowledge, you do an exam and there's a level of mastery, there's feedback that you've actually got better at this thing. The thing with meditation, there isn't much feedback that you're making progress. And that's when we doubt, is this working? Am I getting better at it? I had a guru years ago and in India, and someone put up their hand and said to this guru, I've been meditating for 5 years and I'm not making any progress. What do I do? And the guru paused and he said, if I gave you your mind back from 5 years ago, you would scream in anguish. And it had an impact on me because we don't really know how far we've come. And sometimes it's feedback from family and friends and they'll say to you, you're much calmer now. That nervous twitch you had's kind of gone. You seem grounded. And it's this feedback from your life that will tell you, you're coping in stressful situations much better. And that's why sticking with meditation is quite important. What's your experience been, or did you have myths you had to debunk when you started, Louise?
Well, I had a very unusual ascent into meditation. It's quite an epic story for me. Because I'm quite psychic and at an interdimensional level, when I was a child, I was pestered a lot by what I would classify as the dark side or darker entities. And actually I was living pretty scared as a child. I didn't get much sleep because of the interference that I would get. And I was being pestered by the time I was 16 so much that I was living literally on my wits, and I insisted that my mother find someone to deal with the interference that was going on in the house, because I wasn't the only person that was being exposed to that. So we actually had poltergeist energy in the house. And so she found a lovely old medium called Louise, who was your traditional sort of like, I don't know, she would have been late 50s at the time when I was only 16, 17. And she actually arranged to get me cleared and get the house cleared. And then I started in her meditation circle at 17.
Wow.
And I remember the first time I rocked up at my meditation class, and it was really, really nice. And like, it was just, you know, she took us on an inner journey, and from that moment on I was hooked.
Amazing.
And I reckon over the years I've just got used to actually, like, I think we can get so, with our psychic perception, we can get afraid of the dark, so we don't explore the light even.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. So you know, it was a bizarre way to get involved in meditation, but I've been doing it ever since. There's different types of meditation we're going to talk about in a minute. Let's just see who we've got. Kira. Hello, Kira. Thank you for joining us. We've got Katie, and anybody else that comes online, give us a thumbs up and let us know where you are in the world.
I attribute, I did 2 years, I did 12 hours a week for 2 years plus, and I had 2 pilgrimages to India where I did satsang, chanting, meditation. We chanted on the names of Hindu deities. It's this 2-year period where I decided that was esoterically where I wanted to study. Then I had a massive spiritual awakening after that period of time was over, and I always wondered, why did the awakening happen so suddenly? I was always very psychic, but the energies got really, I guess, compressed after a long period of time of dedicated meditation, that I was able to master the psychic abilities, and it came through from doing such an intense period of meditation. Because I don't know what your impression is, Louise, but when we meditate, we strengthen our channel to spirit.
Yes, we do. I wonder, when you did that, you obviously, how psychic were you when you were a child?
Incredibly psychic. All my knowings and I've been able to listen and see and perceive from a very young child.
That meditation was just a process of unblocking your channels so that you could absorb information from spirit.
I had a real monkey mind. You know, I really had such a chatter. My job was very cerebral, and I had to remember large volumes of facts. I allowed my job to consume my mind, that the meditation, to your point, really had to start the purification process. To become a psychic reader and a medium, you've got to hold a link to a channel, which is focusing on a point of energy. I visualize sometimes a gold light from me to a point of energy, and I use a point because it allows me to focus. It requires a concentration if you're bringing through a spirit from the other side, or you're working with a spirit guide. And when you're with a client, that has to come feeling naturally. To achieve that state, it is through meditation that you achieve that ability to concentrate on a focal point, take yourself from outside of the world to inside. So do you have anything to share about that?
Yeah, I can. So one of the fundamentals, like, I think everybody that's been in here has heard me say this, but when we refer to the word channeling, I always start with, inside your brain is the pineal and the pituitary gland, and I always go like this and say there's a muscle that runs around the pineal and the pituitary gland, and if you cut through the brain, you can see the Eye of Horus as an outline, which is what the Egyptians were referring to. And what you do is you shut your eyes and you go within the center of your head, and you learn how to pull energy down, and you learn how to, like, channel it into, it's like learning how to dial into the micro parts of yourself. And you start learning how to pull light and energy through your central channel, and then you use it to comb out your energy centers, or you use it to, like, zone in on a pocket of density in your physical, and you kind of want to exchange that. So you go down into the energy and you see, like, with your consciousness, what it's about. It will give you memories, you know, and then you can offer it up and exchange it from a negative emotional situation trapped in time to a positive. And that's the beginnings of learning how to channel. And obviously there's a whole array of different channels we can tune into. So I say to people, your consciousness then becomes like a satellite dish, and you can tune to this radio station that is the mediumship channel, which is one of the channels that I actually consciously block so that I don't get overwhelmed. And then there's obviously channels to the crystal kingdom, or there's channels to the angelic kingdom, or there's channels to the ascended masters, and there's channels to other dimensions, other solar systems. And if you really want to, you can learn how to tune into like different grid point locations, or the etheric, and working on people's energy and dialing into that. But one of the keys I find is to actually close your eyes, because your channel's more amplified, you're disconnected from this reality, and then you're actually immersed in the experience at a quantum level, and you can allow the energy to come through. And when you start to work with meditation, you can get clunks and shifts and feel energy, and then what it does is it up levels and it up levels and it up levels, and you start to see. I was always really buoyant, so I would always see visions, and that would like encourage me to stay connected, to, you know, go back in. And I, like many people have heard me call it Netflix on the inner. So it's like inner TV, trying to like tune into like what the energy is.
You can
right
become
now.
addicted to it. I've become addicted to my own inner Netflix. I'll just use any time to go within, and I'm buoyant as well. And it is like seeing a movie play out, and depending on which station you tune into. But you know, why don't we talk about how you begin? Because how you begin is so important. What I found with meditation, it was vast. I didn't feel there was a lot of instructions around it, and I felt like it wasn't tangible enough for me. So if you're analytical or logical, it's a hard concept to grasp. And what I love with technology these days, there's some great apps like Headspace, Calm, Insight Timer. And I've had experiences with all these apps. And if you want to begin, I recommend using technology to begin. And they've catered it down to 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. What I like about Headspace, you can meditate as a group. Connecting to group consciousness is great if you're extroverted, if you're used to doing group activities. And some people don't like to be alone. Some people actually, the solitude is too much for them, especially when you begin meditating. This is super beginner. Calm has a 30-day program. What you practice grows stronger. So it has a 30-day program where you're supported, and there's metrics, because we like feedback, don't we? So you know, it's the time you've been meditating. They give you measurements about the kind of focus you're having. And Insight Timer is another app, and it's a little bit more esoteric. There's a bit more knowledge on it. There's some Vedic meditations. There's a different array, and a lot more people have contributed to the Insight Timer app. But I urge, if you haven't started, look at technology as a way to start. And they've catered it for walking home, movement meditation. It's very practical. It deals with the pain points of life. You know, I'm at work and I'm stressed. There's a meditation for that. It really deals with the realities of life and why we think we need to meditate.
So there's a few bits of advice that I can give, and we're going to have a talk to Kira in a second. I used to work in an extremely stressful job, and I found that I had to go and clean my energy in the toilet 4 times a day.
Right.
I had to go into the toilet, open to channel, literally take off all the energy and all the thought forms and all the
And thought forms are powerful. Thought forms are powerful.
In a corporate level,
Yep.
So I pity anybody still in that environment. But you literally have to clean your energy when you're exposed to someone who isn't positive, or it triggers you, or I don't know what those sorts of things.
Yeah.
You've actually go in and learn something simple, like learning how to connect to the sun's light. Sit in nature if it makes it easier for you to just like explore with your etheric energy and absorb the frequencies of the elements around you. That's one of the basic meditations. And then learn how to channel energy and learn how to clean your energy in the workplace is fundamental to like keeping your energy topped up. So if you then go back in 10 minutes later, you're like revitalized. I used to go and sit in my car at lunchtime and just channel and write.
I used to do that too.
To get out of the energy of being in TikTok world.
Yes.
So
the car can be a sacred space. I teach that to students. Okay, it's your space, it's sacred. It's also condensed, so the energy can actually compress in the space. It's a nice space to channel. I tell for my busy clients that are mums and dads, they say, I don't have time to meditate. And I said, arrive 5 minutes earlier at the destination and sit in your car, and that's your meditation time. You're still moving through the day. You're trying to capture this 5 to 10 minutes. We've got some questions here.
Yeah, I'm going to intercede. So, Kira, first of all, she was talking about the strength of practicing meditation so that it could become stronger. It is really nice to find a local group to sit in circle with. I've been in a circle for 17 years or so on the northern beaches, and if anybody wants to PM me to go into that group, I'm happy to pass that teacher on to you. She's specifically a higher self teacher, and she also has like a beginners group that's separate to the more advanced group. So just PM me if anybody's interested in getting involved in that. And how do you hold it? Okay.
I think it's a link to spirit, yeah.
Kira, could you let us know if that, there's two things. So Sheila just said a link to spirit, so give us a thumbs up if that's what you meant by that. Or do you mean like holding meditation when you're in sitting in meditation?
I like Kira's written here. She said, how do you hold it? I heard also voices, then it went away. Quite often when we have experiences with spirit, we get afraid, we get confused. These are not experiences that happen commonly. And so when we have a new experience like this, fear comes up, and fear is the opposite energy to love, and then we shut down very quickly. I've learnt over the years, and maybe I had a life that's felt quite lonely at times, and so I personally would dialogue with spirit naturally. So when I started to get close to spirit, I didn't fear. I just thought, who is it? So during this time, you bring in Archangel Michael's light, and we'll talk about the angelics that we work with. Once you've set up a very strong sacred space of protection and a space of love with the highest vibration, then you get curious. Who is the voice? Who are you? Are you an ancestor? Are you on my spirit team? The quality of the feedback you get in meditation when you move out of breath into a dialogue with spirit is based on the questions you ask. The quality as a psychic reader and a medium is always dictated, I find, with how curious I am about the person I'm communicating with in spirit. The more questions I ask, the calmer I sit in a space of receptivity allows the minds to merge, the energies to merge. And before you know it, and as I work as a medium, I feel the mind of spirit come in, and I feel my mind shift, and we're dealing with the subtleties here, and I can feel a different energy working with me. And that's what meditation takes you into that. So to hold spirit, for me, I'm very visual, and I have such a monkey mind that I actually need to visualize a new thing to help me hold spirit. So what I will do is, like I said, I'll visualize points of light, and I'll look at the point of light, and I'll visualize the light running to spirit, and I'll just look at that point, because my third eye, I need to see something. With seeing eyes and my third eye, I can't just look at nothing. It can't be vacuumous. I mean, some people can do that. I actually need a visual, or I'll actually visualize a spirit guide or an archangel, Jesus, Buddha, Allah, Kuan Yin, whoever I'm working with in that moment. I'll visualize them because I need to focus on something. So that's how I do it. How do you create a focal point?
Okay, so there's a whole multitude of things that's coming out of this discussion.
Yeah.
So first of all, I'll answer that, and then there's some other ones that we're going to answer. So Sheila's talking about mediumship right now, and I would like to speak of the word between mediumship is connected to passed over people or spirit guides that are trying to communicate a message or some form of intelligence to the person that you're actually reading for, which is slightly different to what Kira's question is. I actually now, because I've been working with the universal higher self energy for so long, I ask spirit to show me, but that's not spirits from mediumship level. It's a different channel. And what happens is I then get an overlay, which is like a screen where it will show me a situation or a something, and I work in a slightly different way to Sheila. She's bringing in guides, and she's bringing in passed over loved ones and whoever's here. It's different. I actually have consciously blocked that most of my life just to keep back interference, because it's near the astral levels where I do a lot of interdimensional work inside those astral levels. So now this question has brought up quite a few bits and pieces. So what she said was, how do you okay, so I would like to find out, Kira, when you are doing this, was this in a meditation, or is this as you're going to go to sleep and you can hear voices? Because there's a difference between when you're in meditation. Meditation, you shouldn't normally get like voices speaking to you. That usually is some sort of interference connected to like an energy coming into your field. I do a lot of work to block and shut down anything that speaks in any sort of voice that's not my own. If it's your own inner voice that's actually sort of receiving the transmission, and then your own inner voice, your higher self, is actually speaking that to you, you know it as your energy. That's a good thing. When you hear it as like shouting or random speak or whatever it is that's in the background, and you go, what was that? And you're trying to make a link to that, that isn't the right kind of link to be making. And this is why it's good to actually have a teacher that sets up protocols where they command dominion over space. They're creating a sacred space container. You use a protocol for invoking before you go and sit in meditation. I personally wouldn't want to open myself up in a yoga studio and meditate, because energy jumps to from one person to another. You open up your field, it will jump to the lightest source in the room. So if you're full of energy and full of light, guess what's going to happen?
So Kira's talking about she's hearing spirits, the voice of spirit, without meditation and in bed.
The voice of spirits, okay. Yes, okay. Without meditation in bed. Okay, so this is more of an interference level. You're listening to like astral energies that have got a lock onto your field, and it would be good for you to do some work with Asha probably.
You also need to strengthen the auric field through meditation.
Yes.
So you need to build up
your light quotient.
You need to build up your light quotient. We need to watch when the thought goes to the fear-based, because that actually creates an opening for that to come in.
Yeah.
Writing also takes you into a more relaxed state where you start to turn within. So it's a process. So writing for 5 minutes before you meditate, it calms. There's a hand-mind connection, and it starts slowing down your heart rate. You stand a better chance when you meditate of, instead of having it jarring, walking in the door and sitting to meditate, it takes you into a process. Also walking, after I exercise or go for a morning walk, I'll come back and meditate. I've learned over the years to find a way just to take myself gently into a more relaxed space. What do you make of concentration? Have you got any tips for people beginning?
So first of all, sorry, we had a bit of internet dropout. We're still on ADSL Dark Ages technology here. We're waiting for broadband. Okay, so basic breathwork, meditation and the like. I would say to people, this is a really good basic exercise, is when you go to sit in meditation. I don't recommend sitting in the lotus position. I think it's too hard. Just sitting down and closing your eyes and taking your awareness down into your physical body, and then taking yourself down into your arm and then into each finger, and actually just like tracking through your body. you'll find as you come back up and then go down through the core of yourself and go into your right leg, you'll probably, when you come up from your right leg and you go down your left, you'll actually get a slide in your energy where you're almost gone to fall asleep. And you have to pull yourself back and go, no, I'm just going to focus back on my breath and go back to your nose and feel the air coming up one side and down the other, up one side, down the other, and then take your consciousness back down when you've sort of brought yourself back up into conscious awareness of your space. Because your brain waves, you've got, I don't know, gamma is really high frequency, sort of ADHD zone. And then we've got alpha and beta and delta and theta and then delta. And what happens is we go from alpha, beta down into theta. As soon as we start meditating, we drop it's about how much electrical charge you've got going through neurons of your brain. And then like delta is sleepless, unconscious. So we're trying to stay right in the gap between theta and delta, which is where you're in the quantum and the celestial energy can get to you so that you can have an interaction with it and you can learn to go into the quantum. And the more you go into the quantum, the more time you spend on the inner, the cleaner your energy is going to be, the clearer your mind's going to be, the more you're going to receive in your soul purpose and your connection to the universe and feel whole and complete. You know, that's the whole point of it. And I'm a real advocate for doing guided meditations because they allow you to keep your mind focused on actually staying connected in the meditation rather than losing it and going to sleep, and just holding yourself. Even if you have to fight to come back up into your body, you don't move, you just stay present with the energy. And you, like, even if you have to take some big deep breaths to pull yourself back up out of delta into theta again. So
I love the guided meditations as well. I mean, a very well recorded guided meditation will have notes, and each chakra corresponds to a note in the musical scale. So there's more operating through a guided meditation than there is through the concentration. There's subtle forces. There's chakra opening and cleansing through the sound. Also, the guided meditation will take you to a place where you will have the vibration and meet the vibration of an ascended master if it's taking you there, or into a realm. You might also be taken into the elements of nature. And you don't have to always be at the beach. You can absorb the elements of water and nature and ground by a very strong visualization. So, you know, reach out for a great spiritual teacher, or, you'll be drawn to the right type of meditation. It'll be something you just stick with because it feels right. A point I want to make, I saw Tyler Henry, he's on a show called Hollywood Medium in the US. And on one episode, they rigged up his brain and did a brain map to see what was happening to the brain of a medium when it's connecting to spirit. And I love when science meets spirituality because you can't really doubt it. And what was really interesting with Tyler Henry, when he made a link to spirit and used the words, I see, I can see grandmother, she's showing me a book, a lot of visual words, the clairvoyance, his third eye was highly activated. On the brain scan, the parts of the brain that see were actually look like they were asleep. And I found that fascinating because I'm clairvoyant, highly clairvoyant, and so are you. And I find when I work as a medium, I actually am turning off my seeing and I'm looking through the image and clairvoyantly, it's a daydream type state. It's like having a daydream, like a moving daydream is how it is. But I decide through focused attention to take myself into that space. And what I love is the brain map shows that. There's a brain map that showed that the seeing centers closed down, but he could still see. What's that force? The brain isn't imaging that, but it's showing that there's two seeing eyes shut down. So with a guided meditation, you are taken into a seeing zone. And I think if someone did a brain map on a guided meditation, the same thing would happen, I'd presume.
So I was referring to that earlier, and I'll just explain to people how they do that. So the crystal ball is the ancient technique for mediums to work with the crystal ball, and the crystal ball is just a tool for focusing your eyes on a specific location. I find you can do it with water and fountains and things like that. So another really good way for a beginner to actually start to do this, where they start to see information coming through, would be to have some sort of water feature, because water is sacred, and it's our purest source of energy and life force vitality. So just having an intention to actually read something, placing your vision at an object, but then defocusing your eyes from it, and then actually asking spirit to show you. And then what that does is it switches off, even though you can see the room as it stands, it switches off what you're actually looking at, so that you can look at a holographic overlay. And then it's you're sent so much information in 2 seconds flat. It's you're sent something where there's an aha moment where you go, and it's it's encoded with visuals, but it's encoded with information, and it's encoded with wisdom. It's got all sorts of stuff packed in there. And that's how I kind of see stuff when I see information for people that I'm connected to that want to know something. I ask a question from spirit, and you get an answer. You've got to create a dialogue where your consciousness is able to defocus from this reality, even though you've got your eyes open, and then you allow the overlay to come in. And when it comes in, there's a slight pause before it happens, and then you just allow it to be there, and then it's encoded with all this information and wisdom that you can then pass on. And sometimes it takes 5 minutes to talk about what you had in a second. And it took me years to figure this out. It's because light is faster than the speed of sound. So the visual comes in, and the information comes down with the transcript, and then it takes you time in this physical plane to communicate that.
And to add to, that's amazing how you described that, and super accurate. It's, I'm aligned with what you're saying there, Louise. We're dealing with the most subtle forces with intuition. Once you've been reading as a psychic or a medium for a while, it doesn't feel as subtle. But the mastery of the craft is learning to know what energy's there and who are they. And it's the 3D world, being in the corporate world. I would do readings for clients after work, and I had to always have a shower, and I had to meditate before I saw them, because there was such a density of energy and such a noise in my head. I wasn't receptive to the subtleties of energies I was working with. And I literally can feel different people lining up, and I can count them, because I've learned to discern the different types of spirits I'm dealing with, and hold a curious line of questioning at the same time to receive information from them. I've done this through the meditation practice. It is a tool. You're strengthening your mind. The guided meditations take you into different places where you might meet multiple spirit guides. You may meet someone on your ancestry team. You might be in a workshop working in partners, and you have different partners where you bring through someone male, someone female, someone androgynous, someone from the earthbound, a passed over loved one, and you'll start to go, wow, that's what that feels like, and it requires practice. And it's not something you're going to go, wow, I know how to do that now. Passage of time will give you enough evidence that you'll start to think, yeah, I can feel the difference between energies. And it is one of the most subtle forces, ironically one of the most powerful forces too.
I think when you start working on the inner, you're looking to dial down to the micro level so that you can pick up subtle information, because it comes in on the quantum, and then you learn how to receive it through your being, so you get used to actually knowing, sensing and perceiving. And some people, I think it's quite a blessing to be clairvoyant. I think it's harder for an empath because they process everything through the solar plexus. And I think it's absolutely crucial that every empath learns how to channel energy, because otherwise they manifest stomach disorders if they don't learn how to pull out all the stuff that gets hooked in through their solar plexus. I've got a question here, and then I'm gonna talk about a particular thing connected to meditation, which is discipline. So let's just have a look.
Hello, Florence. I think Faith was on before.
Hi Florence, thank you for watching. Just let us know where you are, people, too. That would be really interesting to find out.
I wouldn't mind chiming in and talking a little bit about life and meditation and the psychic and being psychic. When you start to really tune into your psychic senses, and I'm going to say something a bit, I don't know if it's controversial, there isn't room to be having a great amount of conflict in your life and unresolved issues with family and friends. And my biggest journey to become a medium and meditate has been to really work on healing so much stuff in my life, because all my unresolved issues with my family, with decisions I'd made in my life, just burdened me. They swam around in a looping pattern. I became obsessive about anger about things, and it's so essential when you're working psychically, intuitively, or just using meditation as a tool to thrive in life. You got to work on your emotional intelligence, and you have to put in place some structure to move towards forgiveness. Because I realized I was taking the pain pill, and meditation showed me that. I thought, I'm sitting on the mat angry, and why am I angry? So in truth, the first couple of years of meditation, I was not consciously connecting to any spirit. I was consciously connecting to my emotionality, my emotional intelligence, and doing a very big cleanup of that. And I don't know what your thoughts are about that.
Yeah, I've got heaps to say about that. Bucket load. Okay. Issues. So one of the fantastic benefits or health benefits of working with meditation is not just to clear out the clutter of your mind. There are different types of meditations that you can do or test out when you've got a specific problem. And whether you're energetically impacted by a specific word that somebody has, or of behavior that somebody has done to you, or encroachment on your energy, or cleaning of your energy, or situation like grief and grieving, or releasing relationships. There are thousands of meditations out there nowadays that you can actually use for a specific situation. And it's like, what happens is when somebody chooses to create a meditation like that, they're templating for you a first aid kit in how to heal your energy after you've experienced a particular type of issue or problem. And so at the beginning, Sheila was talking about the fact that, first of all, it's becoming present with the fact that you have anger, or you have some sort of infringement happening from within your family, or something that's driving you up the wall, or something that's annoying you. And so she mentioned forgiveness, and but I would also say on the other side of that, it's learning to discern what boundaries or things you need to put in place in order for you to be okay. And sometimes we have to love ourselves enough to say, no, you're not going to behave like that in my space. Or changing your energy in how you perceive how they behave will change the reality with that individual who's playing out some sort of karmic drama in your family.
Boundaries is a big one for psychics, because and mediums, because we're naturally healers and empaths. And boundary issues, I think sometimes the anger is that we've let the boundaries fall. The depression is that we've self-sacrificed ourselves for too long. And the meditation process just gets you present to your own thoughts, and then you start to, during your walking day through life, look at your own behaviors and how you've contributed to that. We have to own our stuff. We can only work on ourselves. Then the world that's reflected back will be a reflection of your inner state. And fundamentally, meditation is tweaking and adjusting and healing and working through your inner state. You're transforming the inner, so the outer world actually marries how you feel on the inner. And I look at how I am in traffic during the day, or I'm in stressful situations, and if I'm not reacting well, I know my inner isn't, and I know I need to get back to the mat, or I need to do some sort of mindfulness exercise, because I'm a real 100% believer that your outer reality is your inner reality. What do you have to say about that, Louise?
I'm just going into it. I'm writing, scribbling a note here going, what have I got to grab hold of next? Okay, so I'm just going to say hi to Marcus, and I will talk a little bit about sound healing in a moment. And hi to Katie in New South Wales. Thank you for
Hi,
joining
Katie.
us.
Hi, Marcus.
We've got lots of goodies in this discussion between Sheila and I and our community on meditation. So I do suggest, if you've just joined us now, to go back and have a listen to all of the stuff that we're talking about. And if you've ever got any questions or things you want us to talk about, please post in the comments and we will include that in the next talk or discussion. So we were just talking about what we need to own. Ooh. Right, so
responsible for our own lives, what we're talking about.
So sometimes I get people come to me and they'll tell me a specific situation that's actually occurred, and they're trying to find what they need to own in the situation versus the actual situation. So you have to rise up above whatever the situation is happening in your life, and look at it from the higher perspective of, okay, what is the higher perspective of it, and ask your higher self to show you either what it is that you're learning or what it is that you've got to do, shift or perceive about this situation so that it doesn't play out again. And some stuff we have to own, and other times we can just look at somebody else's energy and say, that was a shadow projection. I don't need to own that. I don't have that going on. Just because I've witnessed it doesn't mean to say, if you've got an emotional impact where it like punched you through your energy and hit you like a dart and you felt it come in, then there's something to that you've got to look and lift off your energy. But not everything we have to own as our reality. Maybe you're just holding an example for that person so that they can make a shift of awareness. So when somebody shadow projects and it's your partner or your friend, and you go, okay, what do I need to own around this? Do I really need to own how they behaved?
You can't own how they behave. Yeah, you own your own emotional response.
That's right.
And that's your boundary. So you own your response, but we don't own their behavior. But it allows us, I find, as a portal to look within ourselves. Why am I reacting like that?
Well, if you're not reacting, then that's okay. You don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
When the other person's reacting, maybe it's you holding your light so the other person can actually realize how they're behaving and make a shift themselves so that they don't play that trauma out again. And I think everybody's a puddle of, everybody walking around is a puddle of trauma of what they've absorbed in their life and all the hits. That it's a miracle that we managed to get to the age that we do, because we absorb all this stuff, all this energy, all this information, all these karmic bloody situations with family, friends, work, relationships. And meditation is such a great tool for actually defragging your hard drive. So not just your mind, but your physical body will store pockets of emotions and trauma and energy. And this is where disease or illness actually comes from most of the time, unless it's genetic, and then it's kind of passed down to you by default, unfortunately. And I think that's just an overview of, hi Anna.
Hi Anna, hi Kira. The journey to meditation is interesting. I mean, for me, I did a lot of different types of therapy. I read a ton of esoteric books. I used the asset I had, that was my mind, to try and make sense of childhood experiences, why I felt a certain way, why I was always anxious in love. I could never feel comfortable in a romantic relationship. So I just read. I was an insatiable reader. I got to the end of the road with that because I was still rationalizing everything, and all the experiences in my life, my outer reality had not changed. So I was just so pulled towards meditation because you're right, Louise, it was the energy field, it was my auric field, past life traumas, in my energy field, in my chakras. I didn't even know about chakras, and it just opened up a whole new world of knowledge and information. Then the next level, once you start working with a teacher, is you directly work with your higher self and your spirit team. And then that is when you really start to download your own unique blueprints, templates. They work with your own light quotient, and that's when deep trust comes in, when you're working with your higher self and your spirit team. And that's when the knowing, you tend to rely less on psychics and mediums at that stage. And one question I use when I go and see a medium is, tell me what I do not know. Tell me what I'm not able to see myself. That's the question I ask when I see a reader, because we all have blind spots and we all still have our shadow. And instead of asking about the future, I just say, tell me what I can't see, and tell me how I need to step into my power, and what are my blocks that I'm not able to see. And that's just another way to look at how you work with spirit and how meditation supports you.
I would like to say, Sheila, since you joined Sacred Space, has changed her whole being, her demeanour, her interaction with people. It's shifted, and it takes a few years to come off that corporate energy of having to be someone that you're actually not. And
Got into corporate world 1 year ago.
I'm not being funny, but I'm quite proud of how much of a woman you're shining into.
Oh, bless.
You're really owning who you are these days. And that's another thing, I think, let's go into the soul, like aligning with your soul purpose, and how meditation has helped you to align yourself with who you actually are as a person now. And I said something to you as a reader of your energy, which was the book that you're working on. It's not about the book as the final product. It's who you become as a result of writing that book.
Absolutely. And more than that, the spirit team you work with, the closeness I have to the other side now that I've achieved by writing has given me so much more comfort in spirit. And I've had this process on my own. I've been writing a book for 9 months, and I've loved sitting in channel and having these words of wisdom come through to me. And it surprised me because, and the way you start with, channeling writing is to journal after a meditation process. You'll feel like it's you that's writing, and when you really allow spirit, allow the energies to blend, it will be from beyond. But in terms of stepping into your soul purpose, I left the corporate world a year ago, and I've been working as a medium for 4 or 5 years before then, part-time. It was hard. We become conditioned. And we become conditioned through family, cultural values, society. And my language was filled with a lot of I shoulds, I must, I can'ts. Because
mine was filled with a lot of swear words because I went into construction, so I had to totally muzzle myself.
It's a different timetable you work in the corporate world. And I left as a director, and there was just a real pace to the day, and there was a real sense of obligation to everything outside of myself, and I didn't really know how to honour myself. And to even say you're a medium, I left the corporate world as a CFO, as a finance director, and I guess in society there's a level of value or perceived value, and I found it really hard to go, gosh, I'm a medium and this is what I do. And it's taken me a while to own the vibration of the word I'm a medium, and I connect to spirit, and I do this to serve. And I've had to uncondition myself and do deeper meditations around what my values are, and what my overlaid values are, and what my true values are. I've got a question here.
I also haven't talked about the sound thing. So if anybody's got any questions, because we've got this in 10 minutes and we'll be wrapping up soon, unbelievably. I have no idea about birth charts, darling. I'm so sorry. I have got a guy that's joining us that might be able to help with that sort of thing.
And the other one was
sound healing.
Yeah, do you want to do sound healing?
I just want to get back to that question quickly.
Let's do it.
So sound frequencies, obviously there are frequencies that are connected to the sound of the universe, the heart chakra, or different chakra points. There are hertz frequencies of energy which will help you. 1 year in 2012, I listened to Jonathan Goldman's 2012 piece for the whole year, just as a mental discipline for keeping myself in a certain state of consciousness before I set up Sacred Space, because I was trying to come out of corporate and hold the energy of holding such a space as Sacred Space. listening and channeling music, you don't have to go on a guided meditation. You can have physical sound frequencies. Actually, we do sound healing sessions here with the chair that my partner makes, with crystal bowls and crystal pyramids, in order for you to absorb those energies directly into your physical and have an experience whilst meditating with the sound frequencies running around you, which is different to doing a meditation that has a track behind it. But I actually search for and hunt for really high frequency energy tracks, and then I actually download them through my channel, because I love to run music frequency through my field just to upgrade my light quotient. So I have got a Spotify channel with the best of Sacred Space, you will find, and also sacredspace.global as a Spotify batch of music on there with like high frequency tracks that I've searched the net for over the years.
And remember, we're meditating in a sacred space. You need to create a sacred space where you meditate. And sound breaks up stagnant energy that will impact the way you meditate. And that's why it's so important to find a place and meditate in the same place daily or frequently. You're charging up that space with energy, and then sound will break up any energy that's not serving you in that space.
Okay, so we're going to be wrapping up in a minute. I have no idea what we're going to be talking about next time around, but we will be talking again in 2 weeks' time. I'll be talking with Laura. Yes, I do know what we're talking about. We're talking about actually living your life on purpose. So that will be at 9 a.m. on Friday. Thank you so much for watching us. Who have we got here? Marcus, thank you.
Hi, Marcus. Thank you, Marcus.
Okay. All right, Katie. Well, it might do you well to actually connect with Sheila and do her psychic development course, because that's actually going to put you through a process where you learn how to do a protocol, you learn how to make links, you learn how to make connections to spirit.
Absolutely, yeah. There's a whole lot of tools and tips. I mean, we have the course, and I've started running my group, and you can join if you'd like to. We've done 1 week, so I can catch you up. But there's so many esoteric tools. So I've had such beautiful teachers in my life, and it's not so much the knowledge, it's the opening up to allow me to also explore. So sometimes you need to be held to tap into your own intuition and get drawn and pulled towards things. You might pick up the oracle deck and then put it down. There's a resistance towards books or experiences or so much doubt. And when you go through a workshop or a teaching experience, the doubt does lessen, and then the leaps of faith happen, the leaps of courage, I call them. So that's why you will attend a workshop or sit with a teacher. It's keeping the fear down, and your courage factor goes up, and you start walking towards the knowledge or the experiences that you need.
I think we might talk about meditation again with Sheila in a month's time, because there was more stuff that I could have talked about, and there's definitely more stuff that Sheila could have talked about. So we'll probably revisit this again in a month's time, just for anybody who is on this call that wants to listen again at another level. And I think we'll close up the live now. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so
watching.
much. It's been amazing.
This has been a really good live, I think. And visit us if you're in the area. Say hello, pop in, and wish you all well. Take care, everybody.
Take care, guys.
See you in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Bye.